Here we are, Mark. So why don't you give us our REK-RAP recap of all the things that happened in this issue?
Well, we open with a record scratch. Yep, that's Spider-Man, hand sticking out of the mouth of Madeline Pryor's Demon Collector. Another important note, said mouth and throat is currently tightening around him, and folks, I really don't want to think through all of this.
Hey, don't forget to do your Kegel exercises, everyone.
Oh, yeah, do the little Thigh Master stuff. Anyway, Spidey goes all the way down the chute and comes upon REK-RAP in the midst of rehashing his storytime adventure to his rogues gallery. And boy, those guys are as sick of REK-RAP as apparently everyone else is, right? Apparently, time moves differently down in the belly of the beast, and let's just hope MJ doesn't cuck Peter again for someone else. Am I right, Dan? Oh.
It's funny that you point out how often he's returning to this specific plot thread.
Yes. Anyway, so to show that there is this new passage of time, we cut back and forth between the repossessor getting ready to do some bodily harm to Randy Robertson and Spidey and REK-RAP climbing up the digestive tract of the monster. Days pass in the monster while it's merely seconds in the 616, though reading the phrase "Cowachugga baby choo choo" may have taken years off of my life. Just as the repossessor is ready to strike Randy, Spidey and REK-RAP pop their heads out of the monster's mouth. For them, it is 7 days later, and they had to stick their heads. Well, Spider-Man doesn't want to talk about it. Right on, Spidey. Spidey goes to rescue Randy as the repossessor is readying to strike again. Randy shouts, "Look out!" just for kicks, and to annoy Dan. And it is at that moment when Peter finally realizes what Dan has been screaming about for weeks now, that Repo is actually the debt collector guy Gus from earlier in the run. Great sleuthin', Dan. Now tell us more about who MJ and Paul's kids are. I kid. Apparently the guy has been torturing and murdering people in his attic this whole time. Waka waka. Maybe he should team up with the monster in the basement of the hospital from the Beyond era. They could be a supervillain team called Normal Guys Who Turn Out to Be Inexplicably Monsters of Spider-Man. That title's great. I love it. Anyway,
rolls right off the tongue, yeah.
Totally. Spider-Man defeats the repossessor by web-zipping the evil guy's face into his own mouth, and the sooner we get away from all of his climbing in and out of other people's mouths, the better, I say. That brings us to the obligatory Madeline Pryor mea culpa to REK-RAP. Ultimately, Repo gets punished for his extracurricular activities, and REK-RAP gets a parade! Yay! But the comic doesn't end there, true believers, because we've got a major Spider-Man event starting next week. Randy is at Gracie Mansion, chatting up Mayor Luke Cage, and he is stirring up the pot about that Wilson Fisk no more vigilante justice rule. That sends our viewpoint over to Hammerhead, who instructs his goons to set up Mr. Negative by planting one of the inner demon masks at a crime scene. The next day, Hammerhead makes a play at turning all of the gang bosses against each other, manipulating them one at a time, while keeping his own flat top out of trouble. Oh, that diabolical Hammerhead. Meanwhile, in Harlem, Janice Lincoln is with her comatose father when Randy walks into the hospital room. Janice is not happy about Randy's ongoing defense of the super cops, and that lends to a rather awkward exit by her. Finally, we are at Magia Central, where Silvermane and Count Nefaria are plotting when all of a sudden Silvermane loses control of his robotic body and starts attacking Nefaria. I hate when that happens, especially when you're 80 years old, right, Dan? Anyway, then he attacks himself and rips off his own head when we see a purple boot step into frame, and Silvermane gives a knowing "you" exclamation. And that leads us to our next mystery box, Dan. I can't wait to spend way too much time hearing you speculate about the owner of that boot. And that is our recap.